Hello, 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 and welcome back to Call Your Coven, practical advice for nonsensical times. My name is Bee. My pronouns are she, her. Although, low key, I'm thinking about a she, they moment.
Hey, join me in the she,
You've heard it
they.
here
It's fun
first.
over here.
We can get into that later, but I'm your resident numerologist. That has not changed.
And I am Jeanna Kadlec, and my pronouns still are she, her, and I am your resident astrologer.
And my name is Meg. My pronouns remain she, they, and I am the resident tarot reader.
I know. I think it's like a little Aries season, a little like zodiacal new year, a little like I've spent the last year looking too close to Nosferatu to like feel like a femme. I don't know.
Listen, that's real.
I mean, you've had an underworld initiation journey, this last year.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't believe in the gender binary already. And then the other day I put on a dress and I was like, this is wrong. This is incorrect.
Listen, sometimes that's how you figure it out. You're like, you put on your femme outfit and you're like, oh no, this doesn't feel right at all.
I know. So God bless my wife. Anyway, welcome to April. Yeah, I'm so excited to be here because in March, I handed over the reins and the two of you had such a gorgeous conversation with Meg and Sasha about D&D. So thank you. I don't even play D&D and I loved listening to that conversation.
Yeah, I'm so glad. And I hope that folks who may have, just seen the witchcraft in D&D, that's not really my thing. We talk spirit possession. We talk like boundaries and how to maintain spirit relationships. I think there's a lot of applicable stuff in that conversation that goes beyond the world of D&D and TTRPGs.
Absolutely. We also just talk a lot about like community building and like building trust and intimacy and relationships and stuff. Also, B, I think you would be great at D&D if you ever want to play.
Okay.
I feel like you
also,
would.
you have the acting degree and everything.
I know. I feel like you're built for this.
Well, here's where I say, bless my wife again, because I actually am obviously a free bird baby. I do what I want, but I have been barred from playing D&D.
Oh, no.
I know.
Oh, no.
So during the pandemic, I was involved in a very awesome, nerdy, Gnostic inspired art project called Divine Spark. And the guys that were the founders and that I collaborated with, they're longtime D&D players. So at one point we tried to set up a one shot and it was like 4 of us, I think. And I was totally game, but also didn't know what I was doing. And then it just never really went anywhere. And afterwards, Stacy was like, I think it's okay that it didn't go anywhere. So I think we're going to have to draw a line somewhere.
Oh, no.
That is an incredibly real and honest and fair boundary because D&D will pseudo take over your life.
It will take over your life. And like,
And it's fine. I put her through the ringer. I mean, I'm a hockey fan now. Like, joke's on her. Like, I will find something worse.
Like, oh, you're telling me I can't do this? I'll find 10 things that are worse to be obsessed with. Don't worry about it. That's so funny.
Yes. But
anyway, listen to the episode. It's really fun.
Yeah, you should listen to the episode. It's great.
It's really great. It's really great. I know there's a phrase used, losing the eye, that I truly have never gotten over since listening to it. Like, I think about it every day and I'm like, how do I lose the eye?
Yeah. I think that's something I just picked up in writing land, like from another writer somewhere. I have no idea where it came from, but like that, that's just like how I think about getting in flow now. It's just you lose your eye and yeah.
Well, it's very relevant to April. So before we hop in, any announcements from the 3 of us?
Yes. So this comes out Friday, this episode, April Forecast comes out Friday, March 27th. So if you are listening, like before 12:30 p.m. Eastern, and you are not signed up for my Meet Your Muse ritual workshop, we're going to do guided meditations, all the good stuff. You should do that because it's basically a writer's block release ritual. I'm going to be guiding people through a way of meeting the archetypal ancient stories that underlie their own book projects and their own creative practice, and that like low-key do solve writer's block because you are inviting spirit into it in a way that gets so exciting. Anyway, that's going to be on Friday. The replay will be available. It's $44. Super fun. And then another thing, totally different, but related. We were all talking like reality TV before we started recording, as we are prone to do. And I was reminded that I sure do have an essay in an anthology about The Bachelor that comes out next month. The anthology is called Here for All the Reasons Why We Watch The Bachelor. And it has got some fucking sharp feminist criticism, queer criticism of The Bachelor, Bachelorette, Bachelor in Paradise. And I sure did write an essay on evangelicalism and the show. So here for all the reasons. Pre-orders are great.
Yay.
Oh yeah. I don't have anything new. I'm still in the midst of running my 10-week grief program, River Styx, and we're also running our third cohort of the Grove. So I'm just like deep in that land right now. So if you want to work with me, if you're interested in learning more about tarot, deepening your tarot practice, or playing with some new resources and tools, I always recommend my newsletter. You can find it at 3amtarot.com, and also the Conservatory, which is my monthly sign up whenever you want, stay as long as you like, leave when you need to, monthly membership that gives you access to about, at this point, it's up to like $2,000 worth of original tarot resources. I never use AI. Everything is designed to help support your progress and your relationship with the cards. I'm not here to teach you to read like me. I'm here to help you understand what you need from your own practice and help you learn to read like you. So you can find my newsletter and the Conservatory at 3amtarot.com.
Woohoo. Yes. I will be catching the replay of Meet Your Muse. I'm super stoked, but I will be traveling. I also kind of don't have anything new. I'm still kind of in some behind the scenes work, but I do have a newsletter that has a growing community aspect to it, which is really cool. So if you want to sign up, I'm now on Substack. Spoiler alert, I will be moving soon. But for now, you can still join me on Substack. A paid subscription gets you the weekly newsletters that I write, and then also access to the Discord. And in the Discord, we have two new things that are really cool we've been jamming on this year. The first is Moon Day messages. So every Monday, I pick a divinatory tool. Bless you, Meg. And I know Meg's pushing through this one ill. We're all fired. If you're watching on YouTube, there's tea, there's a neti pot arrived. They're ready to go.
Truly.
Moon Day messages. I pick a divinatory tool and I do like really simple mini readings, but they've been very fun for us to track as a group. And then also on the last Friday of every month, I run a 90-minute co-working space called Avoidance Alley, where we get together and we do what we've been putting off. So that's all with your membership right now, which for $5 a month is like a really big steal. I mean, I'm giving weekly readings and a co-working space. So get it while it's hot and cheap. But that's at RebeccaScolnick.substack.com for now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm excited for April.
I'm excited for April too. Okay,
too.
Let's get into April. The first thing that came through for April, before we even get into the numbers, is really just this idea that because of our numbers, we really are building month to month this year in a way that feels, at least for me, kind of cool. Like we can kind of track some progress. So for April, we're in the 4th month of the year, but you might remember that March had 4 energy when you added 3 plus 1. So we're still hanging out in 4, and now we get to add 5 to our overall monthly energy. And actually the other day for Moon Day messages, I used the Internet Lore Tarot from Moonlight, which I love. It's just such a funny deck. And I pulled the Temperance card, which is the 14th card of the major arcana, for someone in the Soup Discord server. And the phrase on the Internet Lore Tarot's Temperance says, "I am finally rested." And I know.
Gotta go.
Gotta go. I'm out.
Well, and immediately, obviously, chatted Meg, and Meg was like, I haven't slept in weeks. Who's feeling rested at this point, especially coming off of, the end of the zodiacal year, eclipse season, Mercury retrograde, all these really tough numbers too. Like last month we were in 13-4 energy, which is death energy. So even though our mantra was, it is time, we weren't necessarily being called into very much action. We were being called into consciousness. We were being called into presence. We were like, someone was knocking on our proverbial door and saying like, hey, it's time to wake up. But what really came up around I am finally rested is that we did talk last month about getting good at what we practice. And I don't know about you, but I practice saying things like, I'm so tired, more than I say things like, I am finally rested. So April of 2026 has both this sturdy 4 energy and this kind of more frazzled, freeing 5 energy. So we definitely are being asked to stay the course a bit and to remember that everything is in process, right? And like I said, everything is building. And so in April, we want to embrace the moments of stagnancy or pause as being part of the process and not necessarily indicative of not moving forward. Like sometimes we have to take a breath, or sometimes things feel like they're not really moving. And so April does feel like a much more active and possible monthly energy, but we're not ruining our chances at things. We're not rushing ourselves out of kind of more pausey or stagnant moments. And instead, if we find ourselves there, we're practicing just slightly more positive or encouraging versions of our mantras. So instead of I'm so tired, it is I am finally rested. Or you can borrow mine, which I've been jamming on since late last year, and it's done wonders for me and will continue to do wonders. The mantra is good enough. Good enough is the mantra. So as we talked about with this losing the I, 14-5 is a really generative energy. It's art and creation and divine intervention. And it is that sought after flow state, right? Where you kind of blissfully merge with everything that swirls and twirls. And so the practical advice for April is to engage with what is alive and moving. It's not forcing ourselves into flow. It's actually like finding it, tracking with it, slipping into it. So art, nature, your own body, variety, distraction to a certain extent, not in a way that moves you away from what you want to be doing, but that in a way that brings you actually into closer connection with that which already exists and wants to play with you. Like there's fun energy, what actually does allow you to lose that critical eye, because 4 does have a tendency to get a little critical and a little rigid. But we loosened the fuck up in February. In March, we moved from cocoon to consciousness. And now we really do have the opportunity in April to say, good enough. I'm finally rested. I'm ready, for lack of a better phrase. And just to remember that the overall theme for a 10-1 year is doing things differently and kind of allowing for yourself to be surprised. Like the wheel has some luck and, yes, you have agency in 1, and then in 10, it's like, but the world, there's tons of stuff you don't have control over. So April feels like our first shot at really employing some of this yearly like agency, while also knowing that timing and these bigger constructs, like we don't have that much control over. Yeah, good enough. I'm finally rested. I'm ready.
That's the perfect segue into the astrology, as it so often is. Eclipse season is over, Mercury retrograde is done, and the volatility that really dominated Q1 is officially settled. So April finds us in Aries season, and this is consistent with so much of the numerology that Bee shared. Aries season is the start of the zodiacal year. It's the sign that initiates spring here in the Northern Hemisphere. Aries, to me, is the first runner who carries the Olympic torch. Aries is Wonder Woman leading the charge in no man's land. Like, hate Gal Gadot, love that scene. Aries is willing to go first to make a way where there is seemingly no way. There's a bravery to Aries. And again, that sense that bravery isn't just being brave, it's feeling the fear, doing it anyway. Like, bravery emerges through the fear. Like, it's because I don't know, I meet so many Aries folks who are like, I don't identify with like the bravery and the boldness. And it's like, but you're being brave and you're being bold if you're just taking a risk and like making a choice to put yourself out there. So this is to say that we are being collectively challenged and also personally challenged to embrace that energy, embody that archetype in the Aries house of our chart. And this is the thing, even if you do not have any Aries placements, you still have a part of your chart, which is to say certain topics of life that you do in an Aries style, because we all have all 12 signs in all of our birth charts. So looking at the Aries house in your chart can really reveal what topics might be extra loud for you during Aries season. And that's true for every zodiacal season. For me, this is extremely literal this year. Aries is my third house. One of the major significations of the third is siblings. And we sure will be having an extended visit to see my sister and her husband in Chicago early in April. So like, it can be that literal, or it could be more thematic or internal in nature. But astrology is fun and often right. The first week of April, we have the full moon in Libra, and that is on the 3rd. I think this is really great energy for intentional caregiving and community and relationship building. It's a good time to have your friends over for a game night, to host your book club, volunteer with a local org. And then we have the new moon on April 17th, which is to say the new moon in Aries. And on the one hand, the new moon in Aries being ruled by Mars, which is also in Aries as of April 9th, is very breakthrough coded. But we've also got Mars applying to a conjunction with Saturn in the background of this new moon, which I'll talk about a little bit more in our health cauldron. And when the malefics, so Mars and Saturn are the malefics, they deal with difficult topics. And when they are conjunct, which is to say when they're right next to each other in the sky, they're right on top of each other, it can be very tug of war, very push-pull. Mars-Saturn is like that, how does that truism go? Unstoppable force, immovable object, or whatever the fuck. Like, that is Mars Saturn. And so that's in the background of the new moon. And so I think that the new moon breakthrough might have more of the vibe of like a car jerking. And the image I get, and someone help me here, because I do not drive, I've never driven stick. I don't know how to drive stick. But the image is like that you're driving stick and it's like you're having trouble downshifting. And it's like, it's a little stuck. It's like you're going to get there and it's going to go, but it's a little like in the motion. So if your new moon beginnings and efforts mid-month don't have an immediate like clean liftoff, just give it a few days. It'll work itself out. It's just a little push-pulley. But the big news of the month is that Uranus is going into Gemini for good on April 25th. And so we got a preview of what Uranus and Gemini was going to bring into our lives last summer from, summer fall, from July 7th to November 7th. And so you can look at the Gemini house of your chart also to see what topics are specifically up for review and where you might have experienced Uranus energy around that time last year in 2025. Uranus energy is very Promethean. That's an association I get from Richard Tarnas. He connects Uranus to the Prometheus myth in some really powerful ways. But Uranus is very challenging, very rebellious, very revolutionary, chaotic, neutral. The center cannot hold. To get a little Yeats about it, I tend to describe Uranus transits as an earthquake coming through, and it's like anything that isn't bolted down or built to withstand that earthquake is probably going to collapse or fall. So if you've got a good foundation, like there might be some surprises, but it probably won't be earth-shattering. Whereas if you already want to leave your job, you already don't like where you live, you are already feeling a little unsteady in a relationship, Uranus might exacerbate those things. That said, the transit probably will not be felt right away, except by those who have prominent placements or points in the early degrees of Uranus. Uranus takes about 8 years to go through a sign. So like we're going to be here till 2033, which is apparently a year that exists. But like we're going to be here for a minute. So like if you've got a planet or point at like 23, 24 degrees of Gemini, like it's not going to hit you for years. Like, chill. It's okay. And I want to also offer that Uranus, I think when we talk about this and I'm like chaotic neutral energy, center cannot hold, earthquakes, it can feel like, oh, this might be bringing bad surprises, like not to moralize it, but like, oh, this might be really unwelcome energy. But I also want to say that like Uranus can just as easily, and obviously this is going to be context and person specific, but it can just as easily be windfalls or dramatic changes that are the result of intentional action, like dramatic desired changes. To give an example, one of my dear beloveds is pregnant right now, like still very early, has not announced, but their 7th house of marriage and partnership is Gemini. So Uranus going into the part of their chart that indicates major changes ahead in their marriage, having a baby is for them, it is a very wanted, but a very major change. Their marriage is going to look different on the other side of having a kid. So I just want to like offer that, the changes can be earthquakey, but they can also just be the kind of experience or intentional life choice that like does really force everything around you to shift in a way that you're excited about and that you are welcoming of. So I hope that helps to round out some of the Uranus talk that y'all are probably hearing, both here, elsewhere, wherever you get your astrology newsletters, podcasts. And my TLDR is that I'm honestly excited for what Uranus and Gemini has to offer. If you're curious about historical Uranus and Gemini periods, especially times that coincided with Saturn being in Aries and Neptune also being in Aries, I sure do have a talk about that. I will link in the show notes. It's called We've Been Here Before. You've probably heard me talk about it, but like it's very literally 500 years of the historical events that where the astrology that those people were experiencing was the astrology that we are experiencing. So very good. It's a very good way to kind of level set and remind ourselves that history is just a cycle. But that's the astrology.
I love it. As a Gemini rising, I'm very excited for Uranus to move. It'll be my Uranus opposition because I natally have Uranus in my 7th house. So I'm excited because like during the retrograde, if I'm not too on cold medication to do this right, I'm pretty sure my 2nd book came out right as that like retrograde was happening. And then and I'm working on my 3rd book and it's been in kind of a stagnant spot. So I'm actually really excited for Uranus to be direct and like moving back through Gemini because I think it's gonna unlock my book.
Yeah. And Uranus and Gemini, like it moves and changes happen a lot faster than Uranus and Taurus. Uranus and Taurus is very like, it's very slow change. And it's also like very material because it's in an earth sign. So it's like food shortages, supply chain issues, all the stuff we had with that during the pandemic, like all of the stuff we're actually continuing to have now with oil issues. Like Uranus and Taurus is very that. Uranus and Gemini is much more intellectual, information, social media, internet, community connection, and it just will like move a lot faster. And so I'm also like rearing for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how that might impact things like AI and like information and news and truth and all that. So, is there anything you want to add on any of this before I start talking tarot?
No, I'm just thinking about my own.
Yeah.
Like Gemini is my 7th house as well.
Oh, yeah.
That's
interesting. Meg's 1st, Bee's 7th. For me, it's my 5th. So creativity. I'm very, very stoked.
My 5th is Aries. So I have a lot of 5th house activity now. I'm like, let's do it.
I love your house stuff. It's so fun.
It's very good.
Okay, well, let's talk tarot. If you're new here or you just don't remember what I do here, when I pull cards, it's really just about giving us some vibes for the month. So less predictive, less this is definitely going to happen, and more like here's some energies to play with. There's some things to think about. So I pulled a theme card for our collective month, and I pulled the 9 of Cups, which I think is real sweet. The 9 of Cups is a card that ends up getting associated a lot with wishes, I think. Wishes that we've made, wishes that have been fulfilled, wishes that might be emerging or starting to reveal themselves, as well as wishes that might be still buried and eventually are starting to just barely maybe start to come forward. With the Nine of Cups, I often think about like, what do you have right now that a past version of you was only dreaming about, right? Like, how far have you come? It's really this opportunity to really think about the things that you wanted at one point and how you now may have them or still be working towards them. I think there is a challenge to practice gratitude here, which I know is maybe a awful thing to say in the world that we're in right now. Especially if you were like me and just like reading the news around the clock, it might feel like practicing gratitude feels like a kind of smarmy or weird thing to say. Like it doesn't feel like authentic work that you can really do. But I think that there is real magic in paying attention to the relationships and desires and magic that does dwell within our daily lives in spite of the horrors. We can hold space for both. I mentioned at the top of this that I'm running this 10-week River Styx grief container. It's this community collective container where we're sorting through grief together. And the lesson that I just shared last week was one on witnessing beauty, practicing gratitude, and creating connections. And this is really essential parts of grief work. Grief work isn't just acknowledging the severity of our grief, acknowledging the severity of the situation, practicing sitting in uncertainty and like being sad and like letting ourselves own those heavy feelings. It's also about learning how to live with our grief, because the grief doesn't just heal and magically go away, right? Not just personal grief, but collective grief, the grief for climate change, the grief for wars, the grief for genocides, the grief for everything that's happening to trans people right now in the United States. There's a lot of collective grief that we're having. But part of navigating our grief is noticing what's around us and learning how to be present, connecting with the people that we love, the places that we love, the ideas and ideals and ethics and values that remind us of who we are, and really honoring or even just practicing recognizing when gratitude bubbles up within us in an authentic way. A like daily enforced gratitude practice might not be for you. It's definitely not for me. But starting to practice noticing when you really just feel moments of gratitude in your daily life can be a really beautiful way to practice gratitude without feeling like you're performing something. And all of this is just what came up for me when I saw the Nine of Cups. So this month, pay attention to the things that bring you authentic joy, to the things that are genuinely beautiful to you, and to the things that you love. Pay attention to moments when you laugh, when you reach for the people that you care about, when you're able to show up really authentically and honestly. Pay attention to times when you're able to be vulnerable. And let yourself celebrate the good when you can, not as a way of avoiding or ignoring the bad, but as a reminder that good is still present even in the hard times. The truth card that I pulled for us, which I like to pull a truth and a dare card. These are just little challenges, things to think about, ways to push yourself. So truth is an internal challenge, an insight, something to think about, something to kind of wrestle with internally. And I pulled the moon for us. So another 9 card, because this is card 18. And when we add 1 and 8 together, we get 9. The moon is one of those opaque cards that can represent a lot of different things depending on the context of the reading. So the moon can be imagination, it can be fears and dreams and nightmares. It can be cravings and wildness and like feral energy. It can be shadows and things that are hidden. And it can also be cycles and movement and balance. I often with the moon think about things we do in the dark or things we do in the under cover of night, the ways that moonlight can help us kind of slip away or steal away or only reveals partial truths as opposed to sunlight, which can be almost harsh in its clarity and revelation. Things under the moon's light, things become surreal and strange, sometimes hard to fully identify, and we can find ourselves getting a little bit lost within the landscape of our own interiority, which can be a scary thing or can be a welcome thing, depending on who you are and what your vibe is this month. So as a truth card, the moon encourages us all to get a little bit weird this month, to explore, to be curious, and to see what's intriguing to us. This month, I invite you to pay attention to where your mind and your heart naturally wander when you give them some space to breathe. What are you catching yourself consistently dreaming about or fantasizing about or imagining? What do you hunger for or long for? Just like with that 9 of Cups energy and that wishing energy, where do you find yourself kind of imagining or thinking about things or dreaming about something or reaching for something? What would it look like to let go of rules or expectations a little bit, to chase after something that you can't quite name for yourself yet? Finally, I pulled a dare card, which is a more external challenge. It's a risk to take. It's a chance to get a little weird and a little bit wild. And I pulled the Ace of Swords, so buckle in. The Ace of Swords in general is a sharp truth or a sudden insight, the kind of realization that takes us by surprise or changes our perspective. And so the Ace of Swords can be a card that sometimes feels like lightning striking. That's usually what I think about. This is the initiation of the suit of air, which is a suit about information and communication, about the mind, about insights and perspectives and truths, as well as separating fact from fiction. And when aces show up, I'd like to think of them as gifts from the suit itself. They're seeds or fresh starts, something that invites us to begin a new journey. So as a dare card, the ace is asking us to be brave intellectually, to face truths, to expand perspectives, to lean into that Uranus and Gemini energy, honestly. This month, I dare you to stop ignoring the things that you know to be true. I dare you to pay attention to what is being revealed, either for the first time or for the 100th. I dare you to acknowledge reality fully instead of hiding from it. I dare you to ask questions instead of assuming you know it all already. And I dare you to let information change your mind or shift your perspective instead of clinging to what is more comfortable or convenient to believe.
The Ace of Swords is so Uranus and Gemini. Wow.
Yeah. I hadn't really thought about that until I was listening
wild.
to you talk, and then I was like, oh, fuck, okay. we're just here.
Yeah.
I love all of our cards so much.
I know, they're pretty great.
I really do. Also, the Nine of Cups is the last tarot card that I pulled personally.
Cute.
So you said it, and I was like, oh my God, it's right here next to me.
I saw your face, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Love when that happens.
I also just read a tarot book. It's not out yet, but I had the honor of reading it early. The word for the Nine of Cups is alive. And that's what came through in my numerology forecast was like, this month, engage with what is alive.
Yeah.
And then that is also very much the moon, what you were talking about with like, what are the things that keep pulling your attention? What are the dreams that kind of keep surfacing? That was what I was getting at when I was saying distraction, like almost embrace distraction in the ways in which it pulls your intuitive energy, not in the way that it like actually pulls you away from what you want to be doing. But yeah, there's so much like juicy, good mystery here this month.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of like call to like pay attention to the fantasy, to the imagination, to the wondering, to the questions. But yeah, that Ace of Swords in there is also like, but when you're in this world, be in it and like pay the fuck attention and don't like let the fantasy and imagination stuff. I don't know. I think there gets to be a really beautiful balance, and I think it's important. I mean, I was also just thinking about, again, that conversation that we had about D&D and witchcraft and like just the necessity of play and the importance of having other worlds and ways that you can explore. For me, at least, like having a way to play and imagine and co-create a space and a story with other people, it's so immersive. And it means that when I'm back in the real world, I'm also like more in it, you know, I'm able to be more present because I'm like, and this is what's actually happening in my world. And I also have to approach that with clarity and realism. So, yeah.
Well, and I think that speaks so much to that balance between gratitude or joy and staying connected to whatever advocacy or activist work. That's not exactly what you were speaking to with the gratitude and the Nine of Cups.
But it's in there.
It's in there. And it's also in the number 5. I think a lot about like 5 as the change maker and 5 as the activist, but also somebody who like genuinely has fun doing that, who has like fun creating change and who is lit up by the act of getting involved and like how, you know, yes, politically, but if you just think about crisis, like whatever that means to you, using humor as a defense mechanism, we've talked about that already on, you know, on the pod this year, but that can be really revelatory and like really freeing in times of major crisis to just bring in almost antithetical elements of joy and pleasure and humor. So yeah, fun balance this month.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to laugh and cry. Like we need both.
Anything to add, Jeanna, or you're ready to call
brilliant, and I agree with everything you said.
Great. Beautiful. Okay. I did something kind of interesting for our cauldrons today.
Ooh,
At
what
least
did you do?
I picked 4 keywords for the number 5, and I just went with what came through. So each of our cauldrons, for numbers at least, has a keyword, and then we're going to explore that. So
Love
for
that.
thank you. Yeah. Well, I guess I'm saying thank you, but it wasn't me. Thank you to the muses.
Uh-huh.
And okay, finances, our word is fun, which is not typically a word that I associate with finances, but I thought
Mhm.
for April, why not? So, in terms of our mantras, keeping this theme of positive and more encouraging versions of mantras this month, it's fun and exciting to make money. It's fun
Mm,
and exciting to spend money.
mm,
It's fun and exciting to give money away. And it's fun and exciting to receive money. So
mm,
those are our mantras. And I think that the 4 of them, which again, April very much vibes with 4, and then 5 is like kind of this wrecking ball coming through and being like, let's switch it and make them all fun and exciting. We're staying again in the flow of finances in
mm,
April. We're not pulling ourselves out of the flow. Like there is a certain element of truth to what goes out comes back in. You can think
mm,
about the tides. So we're bringing a little bit of fun and like loose energy to our finances. So again, it's fun and exciting to make
mhm.
money, spend money, give money away, receive money. And those are your mantras.
That reminds me a lot of a teacher and coach that I'm working with right now named Rachel Maddox. And Rachel talks a lot about developing her vision for a coven economy and regenerative wealth for witches, of like the investment that grows, that we recirculate our wealth, that we're all like making enough money that like she like donates like 5% of her income to Gaza, like every like that kind of thing. I don't know. I'm just like the idea of like it's fun and it circulates and like money likes to move, like Mercury likes to move. That just feels very like vibrant. I'm going to be a little bit of a Debbie Downer. I've got 2 dates for those of you, which like I love the fun vibe. I'm taking it. But I will simply say Mercury retrograde is over, but we've still got one kind of fuzzy day to get through in April. So April 16th, Mercury will be conjunct Neptune in Aries. This is a great day for like writing, dreaming. like it's, you know, the Mercury activities that benefit from Neptunian romance and inspiration, great. But we're maybe not like pie in the sky emotionally or particularly like fantasy spending on something that we need to return because we can't actually afford it. So just like April 16th, keep it on lock. And if you don't manage to keep it on lock, then it's probably going to still get settled by April 20th because then Mercury will be conjunct Saturn and that is a reality check. So you know, we're just being very, very mindful about our spending mid-April. Have fun, but like with your feet on the ground.
That's really rude for 420 to be a hard reality check.
Honestly, it does feel
Oh, I didn't
it
even
feels
realize that. Yeah.
a little
That's
bit.
very it is very rude. And
Yeah.
it's homophobic and biphobic and all the things to all of us specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to drag us back to the fun vibe because I pulled the 10 of Pentacles for money.
Yeah,
For
love
my
that.
love for all of us. This could look a few different ways. This could just look like fun, like, you know, riding the wheel, like moving through space, like everything that B said, just like listen to that part again. It could also look like a long money journey, maybe wrapping up for you in a really like holistic and stabilizing way. It could feel like your money is really settling into a steady flow. I think in general, personal finances can feel really isolating, especially if you are like me, like lots of us, like a small business owner or self-employed. And there's a lot of, you know, like finger wagging and stuff around how to manage your personal finances, how to give, how to spend, how to save, how organized you should be, how often you should be paying your quarterly taxes, whatever. But I think this month we're all going to be reminded that money is something that ebbs and flows, that we spend and receive as needed, that we live in a society, that we are interconnected. So yeah, my advice is really echoing echoing everything that Bee said. Give when you can, take what you need, and trust that money things might feel a little bit more solid and both solid and fluid in general this month, if that makes sense, in like the best of ways. There's a stabilizing force to it, and there's also just an embracing of the movement that money is meant to have. Like, don't be like a billionaire and hoard your wealth, but also, you know, it's okay to save and spend as needed this month.
Normal people having emergency savings is not hoarding wealth. That's
It's
not,
super not.
it's super fucking not.
Completely
the
different
same
things.
thing. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's that image of the Four of Pentacles, right? With the dragon. Like, my favorite representation of the Four of Pentacles anyway is the Shadowscapes, and there's like a dragon whole like guarding all of its coins, and it's like, I don't know, that's always what I think of with that.
Yeah, but that does not apply to anyone listening to this podcast.
No, super. If only the billionaires listened to us. If only. Like,
give us your money, let us redistribute it.
Okay, our word for home is freedom. Our 5-word for home. So freedom does not mean being irresponsible, and it also doesn't mean anarchy. And I actually think perhaps it's okay to not be that free. Perhaps it's okay to be beholden to our beloveds, right? Like when we're living and making a home together, whether that means a romantic partner, a roommate, a friend, you know, what have you, children. I think we owe things to each other, and we definitely, things become more collective. But April is going to ask, where are things feeling really restrictive to you in your home life? We still are in 4 energy, so you might feel contained and like ready to kind of break free. And so your question, and your mantra, which is a little bittersweet, is where do things feel more restrictive? And the mantra is, I can change within the space I'm in, or I can change the space I'm in. So you got to decide, is it possible for you to make changes in your current circumstances, you know, within the container? Or do you need to actually change the container is the question.
And those questions might feel especially prescient for Cancer risings and Capricorn risings, because y'all are having the lunations in your 4th house of home, family, parents, grandparents, caregivers, lineage, ancestry, roots, heritage, your literal physical house, all the things. Cancer rising, you're up first. Libra full moon on the 3rd is bringing home a story about home that came up about 6 months ago when we had the new moon in Libra on October 21st, 2025. So think back to end of October, you know, what was coming up around these themes, what was coming up around, like, it could be that you started thinking about moving then, and now you're like, you know what? I'm going to move. Like, it can be that kind of story, or it could be more tied to the relationships with the people who you count as home and family. But that story is definitely reemerging and is going to have a little bit of an emphasis, an underline. And then Capricorn risings, y'all have the new moon in Aries on April 17th in your 4th house as well. So again, home, family, lineage, roots. You might be looking to move. You might simply be looking to turn a corner in an important family relationship, maybe start doing some genealogical research, whatever that looks like. But I'd expect those themes to be really prominent for you mid-month.
I am once again going to echo B because I pulled the Hanged One for us for home. So there's a couple ways this could look. You know, if you're someone that's trying to move or trying to buy a home or sell a home, or you're trying to do a big renovation project, or, you know, get some new roommates in or get rid of a roommate or whatever, it might feel like things are slowing down or stalling out a little bit this month. So the advice is really just try to be patient and surrender to the process. Doing big shifts with your home stuff, whether it's moving physical space or moving the people that you're spending time with, it takes a long time. It takes a lot of energy. Change is on the way out, but there may be things that you just can't control this month. So focus on doing what you can. Focus on, again, like, you know, acknowledging what you can do and surrendering the rest. The other way this could play out for some of you is it could be that just a change in perspective is needed. There could be a different solution or a different way to approach or understand your current situation that you just haven't considered. So pay attention to kind of offhand suggestions or weird ideas that might come forward out of nowhere this month. You might end up getting an idea or a solution that's unexpected, but actually suits you really nicely this month. So.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to see if we keep this relationship
I
going.
mean,
Moving into love, here is our number one five buzzword: change. Coming through. So I know we've talked a lot about this time of year being another threshold, the first full month of the new zodiacal and seasonal year. But when it comes to love and relationships, all kinds of relationships, the truth is that there are always doors opening and closing. There are always exit ramps on the horizon. They don't always mean that you need to take them. So even though our word is change, the questions that April might bring you about your relationship are really like, do you need to make a change, or are you just experiencing a pretty normal ebb and flow to your relationship? Like, our relationships ebb as much as our creative projects, as much as anything else. And so, how do you deal with restlessness in relationships? How do you deal with minor storms? How do you weather things that are not deal breakers, this rough patches, quote unquote, but then that they will smooth out. And also, what role do conflict and friction play within your relationships? Are you someone who really avoids conflict because you think conflict will lead to unintended or not desired, undesirable change? But could friction actually kind of spice things up or light some kind of Aries match for you, this month? Even though our word is change, I don't necessarily think the action is change. I think we're just thinking and considering the times in our relationships where, we're in that pause or we're in that stagnancy without ruining the whole thing or saying, I got to get out of this.
On that note, we have the last ever Uranus in Taurus, Venus in Taurus conjunction of most of our lifetimes on April 23rd. Now, Uranus is always going to be making conjunctions to when Venus is when they're both in the sign, when they're both in the same sign. So like for the next 8 years, we're going to have Uranus in Gemini, Venus in Gemini conjunctions. But the reason that the Uranus, Venus, and Taurus moment is notable to me is because, of course, Venus rules Taurus. Venus is at home in Taurus. And so there is a particular solidity and a particular gravity and a way that Venus is sort of able to wrangle Uranus when they have this, that will not be the case moving forward for decades. Like, this isn't going to happen again until like when they're both in Libra, which again, literally decades, many decades from now. So to me, I'm like kind of marking it a little as excited as I am for Uranus and Gemini. Like, Uranus Venus moments in Taurus, I have really loved as beautiful times to invite and play with the unconventional or unexpected, whether that is in aesthetic, like how you're doing your hair or your dressing, if it's in home decor or in your art, or as Bea was saying, in your relationships. Like, what are you going to change it up with? Like, this is a really nice moment for an intentional DTR or an intentional like date to perhaps an unexpected location or what have you. And then to really embrace the change vibes, Venus enters Gemini on April 24th. This energy is flirty and fun, and it really embraces chasing your erotic curiosity, whether that means that like you're just going out and dating a lot, or whether you're writing a million projects and are like being a slut for inspiration, slut complimentary, of course. Slut admiring.
Slut complimentary.
Slut
Inspirational.
Yeah, that's the name of the episode.
Slut affection.
Slut affectionate.
Slut affectionate.
Yeah. Here for that. Well, I'll be a buzzkill now this time because I pulled the Four of Pentacles for us.
Oh my God. Wait, you really?
I really did. You all started talking about it and I was
I
like,
did
wait
not
for
realize
it.
that you'd actually pulled that card.
Yeah. There's a bunch of ways this can look, as ever, but especially with this one. I think B has said a number of times that 4 isn't necessarily the sexiest of numbers. But listen, Jeanna and I got married on a 4-day, and I think stability is underrated as a form of sexiness. But just to say, I think that this can look a few ways. I think this could look like, having some like kind of jealous or possessive feelings around like, I want to control how my relationship works, or, how people are engaging with things, or just feeling like possessive or afraid about what we have, feeling like there's a scarcity thing, it's probably just in your head. It's probably not necessarily something that is real. So if you are feeling that, lean into it, explore it, talk about it, investigate it, be open about it. Don't just hide it and tuck it away and let it fester. Whether you're in a partnership, a group romance situation, or you're single, to me, this card really feels like a kind of steadiness and solidness in terms of resources that really echoes that 10 of Pentacles from finances. This is actually what it made me think of. Lindsay Mack talks about the 4 of Pentacles as like bodily autonomy and body boundaries and like really taking care of the ways that you love yourself and being really loving and affectionate towards yourself rather than, and sometimes how that might mean saying no or drawing a line. This could be a month for a lot of people to be talking about boundaries within relationships, either being like, I drew this line a while ago and I actually think it might be harsher than it needs to be, or I've never drawn this line before, but I think we might need it for a little bit, or whatever that might look like. But I think this could just be an opportunity to consider how resources are shared in relationships, making sure that everybody has what they need, and also just paying attention to where jealousy or boundaries or whatever it might need to just be explored, reconsidered, redrawn, or maybe loosened up a little bit, honestly. So yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of ways that 4 of Pentacles, I think, with love could look. So, you know, do your own investigations as well.
I don't think that is opposite Bee's change at all. I think that
I don't think it is either.
I think those are so in conversation together.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think it's just
conversation with write a bunch of projects and be a little slutty.
Yeah. Venus in Gemini is the sluttiest Venus. And I say that like, again, with so much love. Venus in Pisces is the emotionally sluttiest Venus. Venus in Gemini is the sluttiest Venus. So that's my hot take.
Go for it.
Although don't quote me on that to like other people. This is just my own hot take that's fueled by too much coffee.
If you have a Venus in Gemini and you vibe as a slut, let us know.
Get in the comments. Get in the comments.
Complimentary. We have.
Because Jeanna and I are both Venus in other air signs, but not Gemini.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a Venus in Cancer, so slut aspirational.
Slut aspirational. Oh my god!
Incredible.
Oh my god! I mean, actually, I have Venus in Aquarius, and like low key, Venus in Aquarius is also very good at like the hit and run. So to tell on my past self a little bit, like I had a very fun streak in my late 20s, early 30s. I was just like, because I'm either in a committed like marriage or it's just one night stands, and I have no in between. So yeah.
Hey, know thyself.
Know thyself, truly.
Yeah, I'm Venus in Libra, so I'm also like, slutty sounds fun. Oops, I'm in a monogamous relationship. Like, there's actually no space for it. I'm like, oh, no, I got married again. Oops. Oh, well.
I got married again.
That's the title of the episode.
I'm writing it down. It's going to happen.
I got married again. Yeah.
Okay. Wrapping this up with health. This is the wildest one, and I'm going to be real. I wrote the word, and then I wrote nothing else.
Scroll down in the doc, it's all one word. Like,
and when I tell you the word, you're going to laugh even harder because it's not a word that I would ever associate with the number 5, and it's also not a word that I would think I wouldn't have anything to say after it. The word is plan.
The fact that you didn't write anything for the word plan is so ironic and so
it's just plan and dash, nothing else.
That's what I'm saying. I sat there and I waited, and I even walked on it this morning, and I was like, what the fuck is plan for health? And here is what I've come up with. I think by the end of the month, plan will make a lot more sense, and maybe even a plan will have come together by the end of the month. I think looking at our numbers, 4 and 5, they both have big advocacy vibes, and they both have big agency vibes. So in the vein of know thyself, or in the vein of know thyself, you might have to advocate for yourself this month as the plan comes together. You know more than you did this time last year about your health situation, about what works for you, what doesn't work for you. But it seems like a plan is coming together. And I think this is really interesting too, after a spring where like a lot of us were like, oh yeah, health isn't like appointments aren't available and like
Yeah.
things are going to get rescheduled and it's weird. But like when it comes to your health and well-being, yeah, I think if we stay in this seat of agency and advocacy as things shift, I think by the end of the month, we'll be in a much different place. But it is so ironic. There was like no, like literally the word plan showed up and I almost didn't even write it down because I was like, this is not a 5 word. And then literally nothing after it. So I'm excited to hear what the two of you have to say about health.
So funny.
I will say, hearing you talk about advocating for yourself makes me really aware of the fact that Mars sure does enter Aries on April 9th. And Mars in Aries, again, I think it's going to feel like, as much as Aries season and the spring equinox in late March feels like, oh my God, we can breathe. Oh, we can do stuff. Mars in Aries is like adding 2 engines on top of that. So I just like want to extra emphasize, like, you're going to have the motivation, you're going to have the energy. Don't like burn yourself out really fast. Like, don't go so fast that there are mistakes or things that are missed that if you were being a little bit more intentional wouldn't have happened.
If you had a plan.
If you had a plan, truly. April 19th is that Mars Saturn conjunction. Take it easy. I said it before. It is unstoppable force, immovable object. And it's very much like something has to give in order to make it through this like tunnel. So if you're like, this is not the day to completely change something or to take a huge risk or do something drastic, like jump out of a plane, rest, take a bath, give your body nice things. Like, just take it easy, play video games. And also, I will say, for folks like with Uranus going into Gemini on April 25th, if you have if you have your sun or moon at like 0 or 1 Gemini, and also if Gemini is your first house, so if you're a Gemini rising like my wife, or if you are a Capricorn rising, so Gemini is your 6th house, be extra attentive to health, to your body. Do not ignore anything that suddenly starts showing up. Again, Uranus is like the quick, sudden onset of something. If something is out of like order or unusual or unexpected, go to urgent care sooner rather than later. Yeah, those are my notes for health.
Cool. I pulled the 10 of Wands, so I wrote rest. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, listen to your body. Don't push too hard. Ask for help and support when you need it, and honor your own capacity. And that's like kind of the whole thing. I don't think 10 of Wands always looks like absolute physical burnout in terms of health, but I do think it can also look like, you've been pushing really hard, and maybe you ran that marathon that you've been training for a year, and now it's time to rest and cool down and let your muscles recover, and like have the electrolytes, drink the chocolate milk, do the thing, like it's a call for gentleness. I think chocolate milk is a really good recovery drink after like.
I will say, part of what's coming through also here, like listening to all of us talk about health, is that there has been so much energy, so much brute force that all of us have had to utilize and exercise to get through Q1, because it was like it was like fucking driving into like flatline winds, and it was like just so much resistance to take any step. And the astro weather that created those conditions are largely like, it's dissipating / gone in April. So we don't have to use that much force to accomplish the same things. And it's like, but we might be in muscle memory or like just used to using that much force. And then that's where this like kind of comes up. So it's also like, trust that, yeah, just like check in with your body, be present. I think B said that earlier, like be present, be conscious, like just take it day by day, take yourself off autopilot as much as is possible. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a good analogy. It's like thinking about like baseball players who put the weights on the bat so that when they actually are like ready to go, it's smoother because it's lighter. Like, if you're training with a lot of resistance, then when you do the thing, if there's less resistance, you can overextend and hurt yourself if you're not careful. So I think it's a good metaphor, analogy, simile, whatever.
You're
Yeah.
on cold medication. You're fine. You're doing great.
I'm upright.
You really did amazing. So I will keep this final thought to a quick one. But when Jeanna, when you were talking about go to urgent care, don't ignore things like that. And then again with the Q1 and we've been waiting through this energy, I think going back to plan and wide open spaces.
Yeah.
I think having a plan doesn't mean that you have to enact the plan, but
Yes.
it means that it's there for you if you need it, kind of like that training, So this might be a good month to shore up your plans. Like, what would you do if an accident happened? Do you need a safety plan, whether that's physical or mental health? Like just being a little bit more intentional about what your emergency plans would be or crisis plans would be, hopefully not because you have to use them, but so that you have a plan should the time come.
Yeah.
So that's something to think about too.
Yeah. Agree.
Okay,
I'm excited for April, honestly. I'm like so ready to like just shake off all of this Q1 stuff. Oh,
I know.
My personal card for April is the Tower, and I'm so excited to just have like some movement and some breakthroughs. Like literally, I think I've ever been so excited to have the Tower be my card of the month, honestly. But like, things have felt so stagnant and stuck, and like March has been so much forced rest for me, like on a really physical, just no choice but to rest kind of level. So I'm excited for some movement. I'm excited for some breakthroughs. I'm excited for things to just feel a little less like heavy and sticky. So.
Yeah. Same.
I also have a 7 card personally in April. I was like, what month? In April. 7 of Cups.
Oh, cute. That's nice.
I kind of like it actually.
Yeah, I like the dreamy vibes. That's cute.
Yeah. Cool.
Love it.
Well, we'll be back mid-month with some kind of conversation. Definitely, if you have requests, let us know.
I have some thoughts, but I will share them once we stop recording.
Excellent.
Yeah,
it's gonna be juicy, as B would say. We're gonna have a juicy convo
about something.
We are. But yes, happy April. Happy being finally rested. Happy Q1 is over.
Be slutty.
Be slutty. Happy April.
You heard it here first.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Bye, friends.